What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar from the world of combat sports. Former MMA fighter. We're not saying he's done, but he's a current bare knuckle fighter. Ben Rothwell joins us here on the program. BKFC 30 is coming up here on October 1st. It's a Saturday, and he's got a fight coming up against Bobo O'Bannon. What's going on, Big Ben? How are you?
Junkie Nation! It's been a while, guys. I miss partying with you guys, man. I still remember the hotel.
Yeah, we have a friend of ours who's in town right now, and he just finished telling me about 2 minutes ago. He goes, man, I had a great time partying with Big Ben at the hotel suite. He was a really, really great guy.
It was a good time, man. It was so cool to come, just to show that the following that you guys got, and they're still with you today. And it was a really cool thing to see, and for sure to be a part of it. And to be around like real fight fans has always been really cool for me. I used to, when we did the fan expos, I was the guy that was in the Rev Gear line. I'd sit there for 8 hours, man, signing everything. But
Yeah.
I was just as excited as the fans. I thought it was so cool that people want our autographs and wait in line that long.
I did have to clear up one thing with him, though, because he said, I had a picture with Big Ben that night. I go, a picture of beer? Oh, no? Okay, sorry. He took a picture with you, but, that night we were all saucing, so I thought anything's on the table with Big Ben. He can put them away. But anyway, that was a great time. We have to do it again. Ben, what was the first thing that you realized, I got to focus on this for bare knuckle and just do away with from your MMA days? Like, I imagine you've thrown a lot away, in terms of, probably, the ground game and stuff like that. But even with stand-up, is there stuff that you just had to, create new habits?
I don't feel like it was throwing away. I just stopped with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. Man, we were committing, an hour practice had to be just consistent of it. It wasn't MMA. It was like an hour or hour and a half of jiu-jitsu and incorporating the wrestling, the takedowns. And then we do MMA, of course, incorporating all that throughout the week. And you break that up into thirds, so to speak, spending some serious time on striking, serious time on those two, serious time putting it all together. And the thing is I just omitted those two, and now it's boxing, and boxing all week long. Essentially, we train on average 6 days a week, and whether it's strength and conditioning, that honestly hasn't changed much, because I believe the kind of conditioning I was going through in MMA is going to help me in a 2-minute round. Mm-hmm. 5 2-minute rounds equals 10 minutes with 4 rests. That's 14 minutes, 4 minutes of resting. And an MMA fight on the low end is 3 5-minute rounds. It's 15 minutes of actual fighting, only two rests. So just a basic fight. I fought 25-minute round, 25 minutes before an MMA. So I'm going to carry that kind of conditioning with me. The difference is you get after it quicker. And I think that's hit the gas pedal and don't ever let off, which is great. That's my fighting style, is get in your face and go. When I'm not fighting that way, it's obviously when I haven't had success. So I know like what I have to do, what I got to get into, and it's always imposing my will, and that's what's going to happen.
How much did you have to clean up your boxing? Because obviously one of the things about bare knuckle is keeping your hands protected, making sure you throw your punches, you roll your punches, you're using the right, the two knuckles here, so that you obviously avoid an injury. Did your boxing coaches assess that your boxing is pretty clean as is, or did you have to polish that up?
Yeah, I'm a pretty boxing heavy style as it is. I mean, when I spar, I throw a lot of kicks and do a lot of stuff like that. But for whatever reason in the fights, my nerves just went where I was just sticking really to boxing, not using my jiu-jitsu and stuff as much. And it cost me. And if I'm going to act that way, well, then this is great. This is just fine. Just box. I don't have to worry about a leg kick or a takedown or anything of that nature. I am just going to throw my hands. And I back when I very first started, I had some boxing matches. I had kickboxing matches. So I've just been boxing a long time. A lot of our striking style is very oriented to it. The big thing was for me was getting shoes and wearing shoes and having that. I've been barefoot for about 22 years since I started. I started when I was 17. I'm 40. It's a long time with no shoes. So I did get some. I'm getting more comfortable with them for sure. And all it really does is make you hit harder because you dig in. There's no slip. You just dig in and, for the most part, I found a really light pair, so it's not affecting my movement, things of that nature. The other thing here about bare knuckle is a lot of guys struggle with is the no hand wraps. And I know it's been talked about, but basically since 2011, 12, I stopped getting my hands wrapped with an actual full wrap. It was just bare minimum of tape. And I've been sparring even longer than that with no kind of hand wrap. So that part's very natural for me. Because I always believe precision is what's most important, because I don't care how strong my hand is. If you hit something really, really hard, you're going to hurt your hand. There's no way around that. I'm not superhuman. It's just doing your very best to hit, obviously, like you said, the right part of your knuckle and hitting the right spot. You got to hit the soft tissue. And that's just the aim, Like I said, precision for me trumps everything with this.
Are you excited about the fact that now people are saying, hey, Ben, bare knuckle fighting, when's your bare knuckle match, or your fight versus O'Bannon or whatever, versus it seems like sometimes, and I don't mean this as a shot to the UFC, I'm pretty sure you left on good terms, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the UFC, it just seemed like fighters are part of a fight night or a numbered series. Here, I feel like Ben Rothwell has a bare knuckle fight match coming up. Like there's a big spotlight on the top fighters of the card. You feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first gig, so for me, this is kind of like a proving thing. There's a bunch of bare knuckle fans that you can see. They don't know what I'm about. They don't, and some are just not sure because there's that question: how is this fighter that did MMA going to adjust to, bare knuckle boxing? So there's a little bit of a proving going on, but I can already see everything that you're talking about. And yeah, no knock on the UFC. I left on great terms. Everything's good. It's MMA, but it did become a little bit of a cookie cutter. Like everybody's dressed the same, everybody looks the same, kind of took the personalities away. It's just a fact. It's nothing that none of us don't know already. While this is, I get to kind of become myself again. I always talk about it. The guy that you're talking to now isn't the guy that fights. I'm certainly known to have a light switch, and at fight night, I definitely have a persona that comes out, and it's that entity inside of me of self-defense. I'm imagining things like somebody, I use this one. It could be any kind of thing you want, but I was always like, if somebody just recklessly came and pushed your wife down in front of you, how would you act? There's no thinking, there's nothing. There's just like a very honed in rage to end somebody as quickly and as fast as you can. Like that's where it's at. Like that's the self-defense. That's that guardianship inside of it. And bringing that out in a competition, because I'm going against another man that wants to try to hurt me and put me down. So I have to take that offensively and show, what it is. I'm one of the best in the world at what I do. And people like to see when I'm at my best, and people understand a knockout.
Ben, do you anticipate the nerves, the energy from the crowd to be somewhat similar to a fight night that you're used to? Or do you think this will all be kind of a new experience that you're going to just have to go through on the first time?
It's tough to say. I'm basically my opponent's home area, so a lot of it's going to be, I'll probably hear boos or a lot of people there for him. But the crowd, I fought in some really big arenas, very loud arenas. I fought against people that had that whole arena for them. So the arena I'm fighting in isn't as big as those, but it doesn't matter. It's energy. You got people, and my job is to get them as excited as possible. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything before and during. It's getting the finish. Always gets that kind of reaction out of the crowd. That's what I fight for. So that's all I'm really focused on. Any nonsense that happens beforehand, it has to be just that.
Is there anyone in particular from the bare knuckle world that you leaned on for a little bit of advice when you first took this assignment on?
Honestly, no. I just kind of made my phone calls to the company, getting to know certain people. And then Chris Lytle is actually performed, and now he's the official ring announcer or commentator. And he did when I came to the event, he was excited to have me and asked if said if I need any help to look to him. And that could very well happen after. Just for this particular fight, I'm just kind of like locked into things. I do have a boxing coach. We did get some golden gloves and some pro boxers with us. I also got a very big heavyweight that trains with me on a full time. So I got myself set up pretty well. I just didn't want to mess with things too much. I just, for me, it's a fight. Like, people are like, oh, there's a kickboxing, it's MMA, it's this, that. And like, if you venture into MMA, it is very different from all the others because there is a lot more things to worry about. But for me, I've been doing that for a long time. So for me, a fight's a fight. Like, and that this is no different. It's letting that anxiety and adrenaline focused into a power and unleashing that on my opponent.
Day to day, do you feel almost re-energized to a certain extent?
The training is, lack of better words, just awesome because the wrestling and jiu-jitsu have a toll at 40 years old. It just, you feel worn down the next day. It's just, the wrestling is always the highest risk of injury. I've watched that, if anyone tries to argue it, there's nothing as injured as many people as wrestling has. So I'm avoiding a lot of injury from that. My knees are holding up better because I'm not throwing kicks and blocking kicks and doing that nature. So I'm really just focused on boxing, strength conditioning, and overall, I think it's been better for my health. I also noticed I have more output, maybe able to do a lot more things. I have more time to add in like a bike ride and do some other, cardio activities to kind of spread out everything in my dynamics for cardio. So it's been enjoyable.
Last one from me, and I'm hoping you could help settle a debate. Do you think George looks more like David Beckham or Danny Trejo? We were talking about this before you came on.
I don't know about Beckham, but maybe Danny. If I have to pick between the two, I'm going to go with Danny.
That's what I was saying.
I'll take it. He's a great actor. All right.
I want to do the Desperado version, man. I want to get you like stitched out with the knives and everything, and then be extra badass.
So Ben, this is a fight in the what division are we calling it? We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Heavyweight, or are they creating? Is it
Time
a
out.
catchweight, or are they creating a super?
Before we
heavyweight?
got into this question, what did you say though?
I did say you're looking pretty good. Like the T-shirt fit nice. Looked like you had some guns. There you go. Yeah. But you're telling me you're going to come in heavier to this fight than you have for.
Yeah. So I asked you. I know I'm on camera. I said, how much do you think I'm looking like I'm weighing right now?
I said 262.
Yeah. So I'm at 3 bills right now. This fight, I'm contracted to be 295. So it's been a long time. Like I'm carrying this weight a lot. I know this kind of got dropped on you guys. I think everybody's like, what is this guy going to show up looking like? But as you guys can see, I'm ready to go, man. I'm in shape. I'm a true super heavyweight. Like I carry this weight. Like I'm always having to drop 30 pounds and to make things. Like that hasn't been good for me. Like, yeah, I'm not super ripped, but I'm 40 and like I've been dealing with this for a long time where like my body wants to be this. Like I maybe should have been a professional lineman when I was a kid, but whatever. This is where I ended up. So I'm going to kind of be more me, and I think it's going to make a big difference. We'll see. I think they're like, man, this guy's going to come in as a slob. He's not going to have no conditioning. Cool, man. Think all of that, but something else is going to show up. And I'm kind of excited for that to kind of bring back that role of super heavyweight. But in all, if you look on Wikipedia, heavyweight is 205 to unlimited. Like that's just natural heavyweight dealing with boxing. And the BKFC on Wikipedia, that's what it says. I'm like, that's the way it should be. Like we're heavyweights, like just deal with it. But they're trying to change it. They want to start making limits on things. So we'll deal with that after. For this fight, it's 295. And that's what we're going to do. And I'm ready to go.
So let me ask you one question here that I believe, like you said, there'll be naysayers. So I want to ask, but more on an educational side. Granted, when you did have to make 266 or 265, whatever, there probably came with that a lot of conditioning and diet that maybe possibly had you in better shape. What would be your counter to that? Yeah, you didn't put your body through a lot of stress to get to that, but at the same time, is there something to, I don't know, did you have to train harder to get to that, whether it's road work or strength and conditioning or polishing up the diet?
Well, if you give me some time, I'll get down closer to that. But I powerlifted basically January, February, March, and April. I was kind of waiting. I didn't actually sign with them till April. So I've got, listen, man, I mean, it's like there's some very, very strong human beings on this planet. But I personally was like kind of a big deal for me to deadlift 500 pounds for a set of 10, like nothing. Like there's some very strong people, but like for me, that was a big deal. It's like quarter ton of weight I was picking up for 10. Pretty easy. So that was kind of applying to everything, my bench, everything. I got really, really strong. I was able to allow myself to get strong. So could I be this strong at the lighter weight? I don't know. Like the way I was having to eat, it was nutrient deficiency. Like I paid Andy Guypen and their crew. Like I worked with it, like they're some of the best in the business, and they did every test you can imagine. My blood work, everything. I was eating. I cut out dairy. I was eating everything by the gram, like measuring everything to make that 266. So I kind of like got to not do, depend on it. I had to eat like ample amounts of protein and kind of be mentally just kind of feel good and just get really strong. And I was actually a lot heavier, to be honest. But this is kind of where my now that I was like, they were like, we got to get you down. I changed my training, but it's a good balance where it's like I need to be crazy heavy, but like, yeah, I'm cutting it down and I'm retaining the strength. For me, I think that's important. Being this strong, still having the conditioning, still being able to do what I can do, and it just mentally feel good too. And I think that probably has more importance to it than anything, than feeling mentally just upset and drained and looking at the scale every day. Like I said, I'm just more natural, and I think it's a big deal.
What kind of a plan do you have for your career at Bare Knuckle? A 3-fight plan, 5-fight plan? Is there anything that says by this I want to be a champ? And I ask this only because, not questioning the age or anything, heavyweights can fight for a long time. But what I have noticed is some of the fighters that have gone over from MMA, they fight, they come in, they make some money, they do their thing, but maybe it's because of the cuts, the violence. I don't know what it is. I haven't gotten a good grasp for how long a fighter can sustain in bare knuckle. Like in the UFC, people would make a big deal out of like, hey, that's his 20th fight. That seemed like a nice benchmark, even though there's guys that have fought into the 30s and almost 40. And then there's some that after 10, they just got cut or they retired or whatever. In bare knuckle, I'm seeing a comfort zone of about 5 to 10 fights, and that might be it. So how about for you? Have you kind of like thought about that?
No, honestly, I didn't think about it. I don't want to think about something in the future, like thinking about future opponents. Like, well, no, I got Bobo O'Bannon in front of me. Like that is first and foremost. Like we did talk about like, hey, what ifs and just stuff like that. But my mind's always focused on here and now, and I have to perform here and now. If you have bad fights, yeah, that number, you got this number in your head. I'm going to get 10 fights in, and then all of a sudden you have a bad fight. Now you're like, man, I hope I get 5 in now. Have another bad fight, and then it's it. Like, you don't know. What I know is I need to do me and let my body kind of decide, let my mind decide. Like, feel like I got my wits about me, and I feel good. I'm healthy, and I'm 40, but I don't. There's a fire here. It's like when the fire goes away, you don't want to fight. You're just fighting for money. Like, yeah, I would immediately be done and walk away. And that's just not where I'm at. I love what I do. I've been doing this a long, long time. And that's what I think is most important, is that when your passion's in it, you will fight good, you'll be safe. And if you're not, and then you're probably gonna have a bad night. But it's still whatever. Like I'm a guy that just don't make assumptions, don't think things you can't know and stuff like that. So I just really try to get all that stuff out of my mind. And I see where you're trying to go. It's like, hey, interested to think about it, but I just don't think that it just doesn't matter. Like what I know is next week I have a fight. That's the thought. Everything has to be focused on that and giving my very best performance for that night. Once that's over with, then we evaluate and think about the next one, and literally just take it as a fight by fight type of mentality.
And we'll definitely be tuning in. Bare Knuckle 30, the co-main event featuring Bobo O'Bannon versus Ben Rothwell. Cannot wait to watch that. Thank you, as always, for the time, Mr. King of Kenosha, Big Ben Rothwell. As always, an honor.
Hey, man, you guys are awesome. Known you a long, long time. I've been telling the media this lately. I know some of the guys I kind of listen to some of the fighters recently kind of come at the media. It's like, listen, we're partners in this, man. Like, I come from a day when I first started in 1999. Remember, there was politicians and everything else trying to ban combat sports. So it was because the media and you guys doing stories on us and getting more people interested. We got it to where we're at, and it continues to grow because of that. So I'm always very thankful for you guys, and you two especially. You are diehard combat sport fans, and you just bring a lot of good things to the sport and to us and give us a good name. So I humbly always appreciate you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That means a lot. Appreciate it. Good luck again on October 1st. We'll definitely be tuning in.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Junkie Nation.